The heart monitor was dead silent. Not a flicker, not a wave. No pulse. No breath. We were seconds away from calling it, when, against all odds, his eyes suddenly snapped open, staring straight at us. And in that frozen moment, the whole ER held its breath. Because what happened next changed everything. I'm Dr. Morgan Carter. I've worked in emergency medicine for over 17 years. I've seen cardiac arrests, massive traumas, and medical mysteries that could fill 1,000 textbooks. But this is the one case I still think about when the ER goes quiet at night. It was a humid Thursday in late August. The air outside clung to your skin like a damp cloth, and every surface in the ER seemed to carry a faint, metallic scent of antiseptic mixed with a sharp bite of adrenaline. Our hospital, St. Andrew's General, sits on the edge of a busy city but serves rural communities too. We get everything: farm accidents, city violence, freak highway pileups. That night, I was on the second half of a 12-hour shift. My scrubs were already marked with the salt rings of dried sweat, and my coffee had long since turned lukewarm. Nights like these, you rely on muscle memory. Check vitals, scan charts, anticipate what's coming through those double doors. Little did I know, the next patient would defy every expectation I had of life, death, and the moments in between. It started with the sound of tires screeching outside. A paramedic crew burst through the entrance, pushing a gurney fast enough that the wheels rattled. "Male, 42 years old," one of them called out over the noise. "Found unresponsive in his driveway. No witnesses. Estimated downtime, 5 to 7 minutes. CPR in progress." The man's skin was ashen, almost gray, and beads of sweat clung to his forehead despite the cool air in the trauma bay. His shirt was unbuttoned and torn from the paramedics' efforts. The mechanical thump of the Lucas device was rhythmically depressing his chest. I stepped forward. "What's the rhythm?" "Started in V-fib. Shocked twice. Now asystole," the lead medic replied, his tone clipped but urgent. "Asystole. Flatline. No electrical activity in the heart." We moved fast. My team knows the drill. Oxygen in. 4 lines set. Epinephrine ready. My hands moved without hesitation, but my mind was already sifting through possibilities. Was this a massive heart attack? An electrical conduction disorder? Could it be poisoning, electrolyte imbalance, or something stranger? There was something about his face, peaceful but fixed, that made me uneasy. Even in the chaos of an arrest, most patients' features contort in agony or panic. His expression was almost serene. The wife arrived halfway through the first round of resuscitation. She was pale, clutching her robe around herself, eyes wide with a mix of terror and disbelief. "We were supposed to have dinner," she whispered to no one in particular. "He just collapsed in the driveway." The trauma bay lights were harsh, casting a sterile, almost bluish glare across the man's skin. His name, Daniel Reeves, was confirmed by the wife in a trembling voice. 42 years old. No known medical history except occasional heartburn. Non-smoker. No daily medications. I barked orders without thinking. 2 milligrams of epinephrine. Push. Prepare another round. Continue compressions. Let's get an airway secured. The respiratory therapist slid the tube into position while I monitored the Lucas device. Its mechanical compressions were relentless, each downward stroke rocking his body. But the monitor stayed flat. We ran labs. Draw blood for tox screens, cardiac enzymes, electrolytes. We ordered a stat EKG, even though asystole doesn't lie. Sometimes you catch a flicker of organized activity. Nothing. My resident, Jake, stood on the opposite side of the bed, sweat dripping from his brow. "Doc, we're at minute 12, he said quietly. 12 minutes without a pulse. Brain cells begin to die irreversibly around the 4 to 6 minute mark without oxygen. Every second beyond that is a gamble with nature." But something felt off. His skin wasn't cooling as fast as I'd expect. His pupils were reactive, sluggish, but reactive. That's not typical this far into an arrest. We pushed another round of epinephrine. Still flatline. I scanned his wife's face for clues. Any history of fainting? Seizures? Family history of sudden cardiac death? She shook her head. No, he was fine this morning. He even jogged before work. Then her voice broke. But last week he said something weird. Said he felt like his heart skipped beats when he lay down at night. Skipped beats. Could be benign. Could be ventricular arrhythmia waiting to happen. Jake glanced at me. Do we call it? I didn't answer. We decided to do one more cycle. That's when the strange things started happening. First, the monitor flickered, not a heartbeat, just static. Then his eyelids tremored. I leaned in. Did you see that? Jake nodded, eyes wide. Could be an artifact. Except it wasn't. Because 2 compressions later, his eyes opened. It wasn't the flutter of brainstem reflexes. It wasn't the unfocused stare of a body still under resuscitation. It was direct. He was looking right at me. And at that moment, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. The monitor still read flatline. No pulse on the carotid. No electrical activity. Yet Daniel Reeves was awake. For a fraction of a second, I froze. Every bit of my training told me this wasn't possible. No heartbeat, no measurable brain activity, yet consciousness staring me dead in the eyes. Daniel, can you hear me? My voice was low but urgent. His lips parted. No sound came out, just the faintest motion, like he was trying to form words. Check the pulse again. I snapped. Jake's fingers pressed against Daniel's neck. He shook his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The respiratory therapist looked from the monitor to the patient, her face pale. This doesn't make sense. We kept working, compressions, ventilation, but Daniel's eyes stayed locked on mine. It wasn't a vacant stare. It was intentional. And in those eyes, I saw something strange. Don't panic. Not confusion. Almost like recognition. Then, without warning, his right hand twitched. Not a spasm, a purposeful, controlled motion. He lifted it an inch from the bed, fingers curling slightly, as if beckoning. Doctor, are we resuscitating a conscious patient? Jake's voice cracked. I didn't answer, because at that moment Daniel's lips shaped 3 distinct syllables. I couldn't hear them over the hiss of oxygen and the mechanical thump of the Lucas device, but I could read them. Not yet. The words hit me like ice water. Not yet. What? Not yet alive? Not yet gone. Before I could respond, his eyes rolled upward, the hand dropped, and the monitor stayed dead silent. The whole room was quiet now except for the machinery. No one moved. Finally, the charge nurse whispered, Doctor, what do we do? What we did was keep going. Because whatever I'd just seen defied every medical principle I knew, and if there was even a chance of bringing him back, I wasn't about to stop. We went into overdrive. Another dose of epinephrine. Continued compressions. Oxygen saturation checked and rechecked. A nurse adjusted the ventilator tubing as Jake prepared the defibrillator. Even though asystole doesn't respond to shocks, desperation can push protocol to its limits. Minute 17. Still nothing. But there was a shift. A faint warmth in his skin returned, like blood was flowing again even though no pulse registered. His pupils still reacted, sluggish, but alive. Then, at minute 19, the monitor blipped. Just one beat. Then, another. Then a slow, struggling rhythm crawled across the screen. PEA. Pulseless electrical activity. Electrical signals in the heart. But still no palpable pulse. We worked like a machine, coaxing those signals into mechanical contractions. At minute 22, Jake's voice cut through the noise. Pulse. I've got a carotid pulse. The room erupted in controlled chaos, meds recalculated, fluids adjusted, respiratory support maintained. Daniel's eyelids fluttered again, and this time, he blinked as if waking from a long sleep. His eyes tracked the light above him, then landed on me. "Daniel," I said softly, leaning in. "You're in the emergency department. You went into cardiac arrest. You're back now. Do you understand?" A slow nod. Then, the same 3 words, just barely audible this time. "Not yet." We stabilized him enough for transfer to the ICU. CT scan, no signs of hypoxic brain injury. Blood work, electrolytes slightly off, but not enough to explain what happened. Cardiac enzymes, mildly elevated, suggesting a small myocardial event, but again, nothing that fit the picture. 2 days later, Daniel was sitting up in a hospital bed, alert, coherent, and speaking clearly. He remembered everything, collapsing in the driveway, then waking in the ER. But there was something else. When I asked about the moment he opened his eyes without a pulse, he hesitated. "I was somewhere else," he said quietly. "Not gone, but not here. I could see you all, hear you all, but it was like I was waiting." Medically, there are theories. A rare state where the brainstem retains enough function to support awareness for a brief window after cardiac electrical failure. Possibly ultra-low perfusion from compressions sustaining consciousness at a level we don't understand. But here's the truth. In 17 years of emergency medicine, I've never seen, and haven't since, a patient fully conscious and communicative with no measurable pulse or heartbeat. This case changed me. It reminded me that medicine, as precise as it can be, still dances on the edge of mystery. That sometimes, the human body, and maybe the human spirit, plays by rules we haven't written down yet. To this day, I still hear those words. Not yet. Was it a warning? A reassurance? Or simply a statement that his time wasn't over? I'll never know. But I carry the question with me every shift, every code blue. Because maybe, somewhere between life and death, there's a place we don't yet understand. If you've ever witnessed something in medicine that defied explanation, share it in the comments. And if you want more real ER stories, the ones that push the boundaries of science and human resilience, subscribe to the channel, share this video, and watch my other case, the man who spoke in perfect detail after being declared brain dead.